I'm Sal Abenanti, and I'm here on Kickstarter to ask for your support to produce my 115-page color graphic novel, The Hostage. Hostage is set in the streets of Rio de Janeiro, based on the plight of the street children that live in the favelas. In the world of the graphic novel, being murdered daily, and the hostage is the evil spirit that is raised to avenge their death. Origins go all the way back to the indigenous tribes of the Amazon as the spirits that protect children, especially murdered children. The level of death that these kids have to endure every day. They have nowhere to sleep. They have no place to eat. They have to survive off of begging. There were nobody in capes that were coming to save these kids.
Due to the following CBS School Break special, Magnum PI will not be seen today. It will be broadcast tomorrow in the regular time period.
Welcome back, everybody. Don't touch that dial. It's time again for To the Outer Limits. This time we're preempting Magnum, unfortunately. Sorry about that, Selleck fans. But John Suntress here, Ian Brill, Gabe Hardman. Very excited to be talking about Moonstone.
Wait, hold on, John. Did I get demoted to guest and Ian is the co-host now?
Here, let me do that.
You want to?
What's going on?
There we go.
There you go.
We need the better order, and also you introduced him first. I feel like this is is there some sort of coup going on here? Is it like, I don't know. Fine, nobody cares.
I have asked people to count the votes once again. I don't know. I think Dominion had gone in and they changed the inner parts of those.
Look, I will have
none.
I will have none of this insurrectionist. All right, fine. Let's go on.
No, I understand.
The Outer Limits.
You know what? Shame on me. I felt bad. I slighted Ian in the call to action about tonight's episode, but it doesn't seem to have diminished our viewership. It's good to see everybody watching.
Good.
And very excited to talk about a mediocre Outer Limits at best. Probably even not. Maybe that is too kind. But again, give me speculative astronaut fiction, and you had me at hello. So
I can't hear John.
You can't hear me at all? Ian, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it's on your end, Gabe. So as Gabe is trying to figure it out, Ian, I will confine ourselves to you and I talking.
I guess that coup happened.
Exactly. I'm not sure what happened. He's got to adjust his settings, hopefully, and Gabe will be able to join the discussion. We can hear each other, Gabe. Oh, he's all right. He's coming back.
He's doing the reboot.
But yeah, Ian, I'll be honest, and I've said it in other episodes. I love this period because there's still a lot of speculation of what is the moon and what will we get when we finally get there.
Yep.
And I just love it. And I love on this specific episode a lot of the background stuff, like that beautiful shot.
And that is, I do have some info from the book that came with the Blu-ray set. That is a painting by, where is it? Where's it talk about Moonstone? By Chelsea Bonestell. Is that how it's pronounced?
Gabe, your microphone is currently muted on your end.
Oh, you're muted. There you are.
There you go.
All right.
Can you hear us now?
Look, I'm just going to give up. Okay, this is just.
Are you not able to hear us? Are you not?
No, I can hear you.
All right,
it's all humiliating. It's all nightmare.
Shut up. It happens.
You heard me talk about Chelsea Bonestell, right?
Yes. Yeah. No. I had that note as well. And I'm only disappointed that I didn't get to say his name because it's a fucking crazy name.
I love it.
Yeah, I wish I knew something else about him, but I just saw that attribution as well. The paintings are neat. I think he
love them.
I think he had worked on Men into Space, and that there was, of course, and that they reused some stuff from Men into Space. But I believe that that key, that like hero key matte painting that they have there was painted for this episode.
And again, you'll know better, Gabe, because these are film and TV tech talk. The cyclotron used for this, they said, was also used in Forbidden Planet.
Oh, really? That certainly could be. Yeah.
And what is the cyclotron?
It's just it's basically like a big curtain that that has the
like a star pattern, basically.
It's the backing of the of the moonscape. Like if you pull up the shot on the set, not that one. That's a whole matte painting. The second one you have there, on the right, that beyond those built rock outcroppings in the farthest back, the thing behind that is the cyc. That's the big painted flat thing to suggest that there's more moon behind them.
Sure. That's cool. No, and again, this is my, as I was telling Ian, Gabe, this is my favorite period of astronaut speculation in terms of, well, when we get there, this might be what we'll find. And I do. I mean, just put guys in spacesuits walking around a planet or the moon, and I'm a happy man. Well,
for me, it takes some level of taste in blocking and lighting to get me there a little bit. Have we talked about what this is about at all? It's astronauts on a moon base who find a kind of circular rock that turns out to be a spaceship carrying 5 weird, crazy looking alien guys.
Is this what they mean by hairy eyeballs? I always wondered, because I never really understood when people would describe as, they gave me the hairy eye. And I saw this and I'm like, well, there's the hairy eye, man.
It's made manifest in this episode. Yeah. Although I gotta say, I fucking love that design. I love everything about I love everything about just the idea that it's a round thing and then they're inside the round thing. It's, and they're floating around, they shot it in a water tank, and it just has such a bizarre expressionistic quality to it that I just wish the rest of the episode had. I wish this was a, Conrad Hall, crazy visual episode instead of a pretty flat-footed, poor little John Nicholas one. But,
very Salvador Dali-esque, the design for the aliens.
Definitely taking the surreal tip there. Apparently, unlike a lot of the other stuff that was designed by Hua Chang, this was designed by a father and son team called Marcel and Victor Delgado. Also Project Unlimited people, but I don't know. I want to give them credit because I thought that was the absolute best aspect of this episode. But that opening sequence where they're walking around on the fucking, the shit moon, and with the set is fine. I mean, it's absurd. It looks nothing like the moon, but it's fine. But it's really the direction that's the problem. And you notice how in those spacesuits you just showed, they have the black tape across the bottom of their helmets.
Yeah, you can't see their mouths.
Right. They put that in there so that they could shoot non-sync sound on the set, right? And didn't have to, they didn't have to worry about recording the sound matching the lip movements after.
We're doing this.
They couldn't have really shot sync sound. So, but the thing is, the fact that shooting MOS like that means that you could do anything with the camera, right? The camera is not locked to the sound. So they could have been out there shooting handheld, making it more visually interesting, making it more gripping instead of planting the camera like on, a fucking ladder on one side of the stage so that we could see exactly how terrible the little sinkhole thing looked and how incredibly embarrassing it was for that guy this is definitely Ed Wood, Bela Lugosi in the tiny fake lake in Griffith Park. It's shake it around and make it look like it's killing you, because this is that was embarrassing. Like that is not a good foot to start on in this episode.
Absolutely. Well, and again, the moon quicksand, basically, or as you said, sinkhole. I just love. I mean, it's ridiculous, and also just their slow motion to fish the astronaut out. Ponderous.
Fucking ponderous, man. In the script, Gabe said Gabe found the script.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to read it, Gabe, but I appreciate
Well,
it.
here's the thing. Neither did I, so I hope Ian did. I ran out of time to
not
read
that
it.
different from the episode,
Yeah.
but
Well,
there
and
are
I
some-
saw that Stefano was credited with the general story. And
yeah.
we're hoping to get one of the guys who has possession of the Stefano scripts. And he's offered to be a guest on the show, and I got to pull the trigger and get in touch with the guy and make that happen. So maybe we can reserve some of that conversation for when we talk.
Although the one anecdote that's from that Outer Limits book was that the initial concept of this was somebody was walking down the hall at the offices with a big round light bulb, and Stefano saw him and said, "That's our next show."
That's hilarious. And then we got this,
and that's exactly what we got. Supposedly, those were like they were from lampposts in Beverly Hills at the time. Like they were they're just like the whatever.
Globe,
yeah. And but it's such a but I love super simple iconic stuff like that, and the fact that that's that simple, and just that thing with the round shape coming down into the matte painting, it's so Guy Madden and art house craziness, even if it's not what it's intended to be. But although the point where you can see the Grippians or whatever inside it, that is colossally surreal. I mean, it's really, really strange, especially that one in the matte painting where it's completely divorced from anything real,
Yes.
It passes what I like to call the hipster bar test, which is if this was projected like large, like on the wall of a hipster bar, it would look cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I've mentioned it before. My dad's bar, Take Away the Moon Station, would have a planetscape like that with moons and other planets and satellites surrounding it. And when I say satellites, I mean like moons or whatever, natural satellites.
Yeah.
So it's that's that perfect. And that's when my dad's bar was mid-50s. So it's kind of within that era of that aesthetic and everything. And I adore that shit.
I just am happy that there's weird fucking aliens inside that thing, because if it was just guys awkwardly jumping around on the moon, I would not be entertained.
Or it could have just been a flashing light within the sphere, and kind of like that great episode of Star Trek where the ancient beings are in the spheres and they possess Spock and Diana Muldaur and Kirk.
Yeah. I can't remember.
My children.
I'm not a good enough Star Trek fan.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it either. Shame on me. Return to Tomorrow, I believe, is what it's called. I'm pretty sure it was Return to Tomorrow.
Okay.
So.
Although, speaking of flashing lights, one of the examples where the filming of the human aspects of the show fail the special effect aspects is the start of Act 1. They've taken the Grippians to the lab. They're Moonstone to the lab, and they're using a super powerful laser to see if they can split open the Moonstone. And that super powerful laser, they are shining a light on the Moonstone, and that's what we know what shining a light, like even like a flashlight, looks like. And so I have to imagine anybody watching this, they're not thinking laser. They're like, oh, why are they shining a flashlight? And then there's dialogue where it's like, oh, this laser can cut through any of our metal. It's like, really? Because it looks like someone's lost their shoes.
I will give it this for authenticity, though. That instead of having some sort of like elaborate, piece that they made to sit to just coincidentally sit this spherical object on, they use sandbags. And sandbags are like a totally like legit thing to do if you were like working in a lab or in a museum setting and working on shit. That's pretty legit. I think that was it was probably just the desperate thing they did at the last minute, and those are probably the ones that would normally go on an Apple box. But still, I think that as talking about the human aspects of it, letting this down, I think that pretty much all is a letdown. And it's like the story, I think, is so heavy-handed and on the nose. I mean, it's a familiar the arc of the story about the guy, the commander guy who let the village die in Korea, and and Tim O'Connor. It's Tim O'Connor, right?
It is Tim O'Connor. There he is.
Yeah, from Buck Rogers.
That's right, Dr. Hewer.
Yep, from one season of Buck Rogers before he got
First
fired.
season, yeah.
But also almost Wonder Woman's alien romantic interest in the Linda Carter series. He made a couple. He was Andros, I believe, was his name, and he made a couple of appearances. And clearly, there was some sort of connection between Diana and, of all people, Tim O'Connor.
And how sad for him that he was almost her romantic interest. They write these things. They could have made him the romantic
staple of 60s and 70s television, Tim O'Connor, and 80s television. Great character actor. The Neil Hamilton of the 70s and 80s, if you will.
He has a very intense neck. When he speaks, he's one of those guys when he speaks, that neck is doing a lot of the acting with him.
Well, this is the angriest. This is the angriest character I've ever seen him play, because usually he is, a Basil Exposition sort of character.
Yes.
That's just very common and kind of the taking the temperature of the room and not really.
Certainly doing a lot of acting in this.
Yes.
Which is actually kind of weird for him. Usually, like you say, he's a little bit more of a laconic character than this. But maybe he didn't know how to put on the brakes.
But again, I think the character obviously called for it. I mean, it was. I mean, he went a little too far.
It was written that way.
What about Korea?
It was written that way. It was written very heavy-handed. Yeah. I mean, which was not good. But
that's one of the flaws of this. They really try to utz the personal drama.
But
it's like dial it back, kid.
Very, very on the nose. I mean, it's very much the arc of that story. I mean, it's in some ways pretty similar to like a lot of other stuff. But like, there's a movie. Oh my God, fuck. No, forget it. I don't know. I can't think anymore. Forget it. It's that story, Act of Violence. It's a film noir, with Van Heflin in it, and or not Van Heflin. No, fuck. I'm useless.
I know Act of Violence.
Ryan is in it, and they'd been together in the war, and he sold out. Maybe it is Van Heflin. He sold out like some village or their platoon or whatever, and Robert Ryan comes back to kill him later. I mean, this is a little bit more passive aggressive, or I mean, not passive because he's just there yelling at him all the time. About
it is Van Heflin and Robert Ryan, 1948.
Yes, and I, it's just the degree to which he's just confronting him over and over and over about. What? Has he been doing this for, I don't know when this is set. Is this set in like 1986 or something? Because they're a little bit older, but they were in Korea.
I like that. I like the idea like this takes place in like 1970.
I kind of assumed 70s. And that is one of my favorite things about the sci-fi movies of the 50s and 60s. In the far future of 1978.
Right.
We won't be wearing bell bottoms. We won't be wearing leisure suits. It'll all be silver.
Since 1952, has Tim O'Connor just been hanging around, like hassling this fucking guy like multiple times a day? Or is this,
what about Korea, asshole?
Yeah. But then the big, unlike Act of Violence, the where this goes is basically, no, he was right. He should have let those, that village die.
That is kind of the only interesting about this aspect of the show, the drama of it, is I thought it was going to be a redemption story, and I thought, especially after he, not Tim O'Connor, the main guy, he proposes.
Alec
Nichol,
yes. And, a classic TV thing is the guy proposes. You think he's found the woman that he's going to spend the rest of his life with. Everything's going fine, and then here's the last thing, where he's going to sacrifice himself as one last thing. And I thought like this would be a redemption story where he, makes up for what happened in Korea. And then we'll cut back to Tim O'Connor, who'll go, I guess he was a hero after all, or something like that.
Right.
but no. Although I do think it's interesting, the Moonstone is like, you tried your best. It's
Well,
just
again,
like,
Here's the
right, like
the
an
Moonstone.
anticlimactic climax. Go on.
Yeah, absolutely. The Moonstone says a lot of shit, though, and most of it is self-contradictory. I mean, they literally, they say at one point that, that you destroy, to destroy evil, you must survive to fight it, and in the end, they kill themselves. None of it makes, and it's like no one was thinking from scene to scene about what anybody's particular motives were.
in fairness, in the Moonstone, there's 5 people knocking around in there.
Right.
There's 5
Beings.
Grippians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
So you're talking to a different one every time.
Oh, yeah, Oh, that's actually no. They say they know everything or what? All right.
Yeah, they have the secrets of the universe, and they just kind of take it like, okay, I guess.
I appreciate you defending the motives of these individual Grippians that maybe are at odds with each other. Here's the thing, though. We don't know. One thing that I hate about a story like this is that we don't know that they were the good guys.
Right. That's what I was saying.
That's my theory about the Zanti Misfits.
True. Yeah, that's true. But I think it's worse here because everybody has to make these big decisions based on it. Maybe that's kind of true in Zanti Misfits too. But they're throwing everything in with these 5
But
Grippians.
the Grippians are giving us knowledge, though.
Yeah, but I mean, they're only doing it in a self-serving way. They're doing it so that they can allegedly contact their people. It's not. They didn't do anything that said we're the good guys.
That's like in To Serve Man, the Twilight Zone episode. They give them real information, and all they're doing is fattening us up to eat us later.
That's certainly an instance where the Twilight Zone episode is much better than this. I mean, they're going someplace specific with it. I mean, I think that this is one of those stories where they had that concept of, the backstory with Korea, and that was going to pay off in a way that, is reflected in this. And, you can get into a story where you think this is the story I'm telling, and you miss the things that are the more interesting part of the story that you basically end up bringing up yourself, right? I mean, the way you've done this, the way you've gone down that wrong path is you have your characters justifying why they're doing what they're doing instead of questioning it, right? They basically go, okay, well, because of some one line of bullshit, we're going to believe this ball full of Grippians instead of questioning them. And I think that the interesting story here is are they or are they not telling the truth? What are their motives? And that, I mean, if that was what this thing was exploring, and the question of are these people coming good guys or bad guys, or maybe none of them are, or whatever, putting your characters in that kind of vulnerable position would be the interesting thing to do instead of shoving all the rest of it down our throat.
One interesting thing is I don't know if they mentioned this in the episode, but in the script they mentioned the Russians a few times. The astronauts do.
Yeah.
They go like, oh, the Russians may be hearing us. They could have played into that Cold War paranoia and be like, are they aliens, or are these a bunch of Russians stuck a bunch of puppets in a ball and it's telling us they're aliens.
Yeah, or or just on the most basic level, bringing up the Russians and the Cold War paranoia, and then just using the aliens as a way to illustrate that. I mean, I think that they just missed the boat. They thought they had this dumb story that they had to tell, and then they just missed the interesting part of the story.
Well, and they also missed one of the interesting actors. And again, you get the part that you're given, but Harry Peters, who plays the lieutenant, is a fantastic actor that died at 59.
Oh,
and he's McDonald in the
Malcolm, the Conquest of the
Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Absolutely, he's the sympathetic member of the jackboot government that actually is trying to connect with Caesar, and seems to be in awe of Caesar. I love that final shot of him where he's almost looking at him like he's Jesus or whatever. Other tremendous character actor through the 60s, 70s into the early 80s before he passed away at 59. Totally. I really was excited seeing the cast list and saying, "Oh my God, Harry Peters is in this." And again, he just kind of had a perfunctory lieutenant.
Given nothing, but apparently, the character was not written to be African American, and so but when they submitted the according to the Outer Limits book, when they submitted the the casting to the network said, "Well, this guy's black. Why are you casting him? That role is not written as a black person." And Stefano was like, "What the fuck is wrong with these people?" And he said, "All right." And so he just wrote "black actor" next to the thing.
But this was of that time, like that Dick Van Dyke episode where Rob thinks they've got the wrong baby, and it turns out to be Greg Morris's baby.
Right.
And,
that's a brilliantly satirical take
well,
on.
But I know that there was massive pushback from the network standpoint because, again, they were dealing with Southern affiliates who might be offended by this kind of casting.
Although they were telling a story that was about that. That was where their story was going, and if you didn't have that, you didn't have a story. So 100%. I mean, having to in a way, sticking up for for casting an African American actor when it's not written that way is equally good, because it's not about it's just about casting the best actor.
Absolutely.
This was 2 years before Nichelle Nichols on Star Trek.
That's right. The interracial. Well, in general, they're right, as Uhura, and even the interracial kiss, of course.
Sure.
So no, absolutely, man. And again, that's why like Harry Peters was really one of those guys like Brock Peters. I don't know if there was a relation or not, but immediately comes to mind. And other, Ozzie Davis, obviously Ruby Dee. We lost a great actress today,
right.
Cicely Tyson.
Cicely Tyson, yeah.
Did not know she was still alive. My God, 96.
Didn't know she was that old. I mean, But I want to talk about Robert Florey, the director of this.
Sure.
He has a long resume, and he started out at he came to Hollywood in the early 20s and as a correspondent for French newspapers or something like that, basically just to try to break into Hollywood. And he started as a gag writer and became like a publicity guy. Ended up at MGM as a first AD and graduated to director. But one of the weird, interesting things about him is that he directed these two kind of well-known avant-garde films these two short avant-garde films that I have the notes on. It was the one's called The Life and Death of 9413. It's actually about a Hollywood extra, a background actor, background performer. But it's this totally, it's shot in this kind of abstract expressionist style with these kind of, painted buildings and little miniatures and, actors shot against black and he's got the number written across his forehead. And it's a very, it's an experimental film. It's a crazy kind of interesting film. The other one was called Skyscraper Symphony, which I think I saw a long time ago, and it's a little bit more abstract. But that from those interesting beginnings, he turned out to be a pretty fucking dull director, huh? Because judging by this episode, but he did the Murders in the Rue Morgue, the Lugosi Universal movie from the early 30s, and according to the thing I read, which I don't know if is exactly true or not, he was initially supposed to write and direct Frankenstein, and then for whatever reason things kind of fell apart, and when Lugosi was going to be Frankenstein, and
I remember that, yeah.
And then somehow he ended up getting fired off of that, and they brought in James Whale. But Murders in the Rue Morgue was a sort of consolation prize.
Well, I'll give him credit for a couple television things he did, because he did several atmospheric Twilight Zone episodes. He did Perchance to Dream, which is the first season Richard Conte episode where
great episode.
He dies in his dreams,
yes.
and is haunted by that woman on the roller coaster and everything.
Yeah,
so that's that one.
And a much more interesting, visually driven Twilight Zone than they.
Well, and that's why it doesn't surprise me hearing about the avant-garde work that he did earlier, and then also did The Fever with, and again we forget his name, the Orson Welles actor, Franklin.
Everett Sloan.
Everett Sloan, thank you. And also he did one of my other favorites that nobody ever talks about, and that's the Long Morrow, which Robert Lansing was an astronaut that was sent off to space, and he was going to be in isolation for decades and come back as an old man. Mariette Hartley played his love interest in that. That was a great atmospheric kind of Twilight Zone. So, and it's very interesting because literally leading up to Moonstone, those were his last credits. And Moonstone was the last thing he made.
I think that I don't know if it's just the set of circumstances, but it is weird that this episode was so much less than, visually, when obviously the Outer Limits was a place where you could come and do something visually interesting.
True. Jack points out a couple other Flory credits, Beast with Five Fingers and What's Behind the Mask. Laurie films.
Totally, yeah.
One thing I wonder is, go ahead, Gabe.
No, go.
This is, I believe, at least for the first season, this is at least the first episode that is not Earthbound. Like, we've had episodes where dudes were in space and they're coming back on a ship, or they're shot into space, like in Second Chance. This is one where they're not on. Everything is unearthly, I suppose you can say. And I wonder if that maybe threw people for a loop, even though I guess once you see the labs, they're just labs. They couldn't
take flat. They're the same set that we're on every other time with an interior.
But I wonder if that maybe threw, and maybe, I don't know, it doesn't feel like, after that they didn't do much of things in space then.
John, you are absolutely going to hate this quote, but Stefano's apparently said, anytime we got too science fiction-y, I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's a weird quote. Yes.
I think what he means is that what you're saying, that when it gets too far removed from earthly stuff, when it gets when it's not about bringing something odd into something familiar, and I think that because that's so much of what most of the other episodes are. They're mostly more grounded things that you're bringing a super weird element into instead of putting a weird hat on another weird hat.
Now, is this even possible? I guess it is that guy. Kurt Conway plays the white-haired scientist.
Yeah,
that's marveling. By the way, one of the secrets of the universe sounds like transporter technology, the way they're describing it, that they start with matter, can turn it into light and travel at the speed of light and then recompose as matter. Yeah. And that's, again, more kind of Star Trek sci-fi 2 years before the series. But Kurt Conway, later a fantastic character actor in comedy in particular, played doctors and judges on The Odd Couple on several of my favorite episodes, and very, very funny.
Yeah,
and I recognize him from a lot of comedy sitcom.
Yeah, I meant to look him up because he looked so familiar to me, and I couldn't place where he was, and then I ran out of time. But I'm
gonna see if I can pull up another photo of him from the 70s, and because I'm like, no way is it that guy, and it's like, actually, yeah, it is, and that's here it is. I'll share my screen momentarily.
Well, one quick thing while you're doing that, Alex Nickel? Alex Nickel?
Alec Nickel.
The super stiff lead. Apparently, like a couple years before. Oh, yeah. Look at there. That's a
there
guy.
He is. And that's got to be from that Odd Couple episode. One of my favorites. So go on.
So he just that he directed the Screaming Skull from 1958 from a couple of years.
Alec Nickel did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
hilarious. Is that a Bird Eye Gordon or is that Corman?
I think it's. I'm actually not sure. I'd have to look that up.
We're gonna have to look him up and see.
In the world, Ruth Roman is good. She's the only person who gets to kind of be a human. I mean, the script lets her down, and the fact that she's a female scientist is 1,000% misogynistically undercut immediately by them making fun of her as
her fiance is making fun of it to her face.
That's part of what I feel like. I hate these people. I hate that guy, that character. I hate I don't like any of these people, and I don't want them to survive.
Doesn't like Tim O'Connor's like, why would you be with that guy? And he's saying it because of this guy, left this village to die in Korea. But I'm like, why would you be with this guy anyway?
When he's
fucking
shitbagged.
asshole. Yeah, I mean, like, such an unthinking asshole. There's so many things in this script where it feels like they're not really, like, they're not aware. I mean, granted, that's of the time. It's whatever, but it's still. It really feels like the script is not aware of a lot of the stuff that's going on in it.
But it was sad because when she first appeared, I was excited because we've had so many episodes where the main female character was the worrying wife, basically.
Yes. Or the screamer.
And I thought, hey, here's a woman who's, I don't know if she's leading a team, but she's one of the main scientists. And then it becomes just the love story, and that becomes the overriding aspect of her character and not the science aspect. And
also that she was wrong to have a level of compassion, right?
Yeah, it's like,
which is bullshit, right? I mean, like, it would be less bullshit if the episode and the script were able to convince us that what the ultimate outcome was good, but it couldn't do that. I mean, it was still trying. Thank you. It's Screaming Skull is an AIP movie, American International. But yeah, I mean, Ruth Roman, though, Strangers on a Train. She worked with Scott. She's in Strangers on a Train. She's also in Champion, yes,
the Kirk Douglas boxing movie.
Kirk Douglas,
yes.
And a movie I like, a kind of minor noir called Tomorrow Is Another Day, from 1951 that I think is worth checking out. I enjoyed that movie. But yeah,
great deep voice. Got that husky voice.
I think she's great, and I mean, and she's certainly like, I mean, Tim O'Connor is very petulant in this, but and so he comes across, but I think that she's the only one who kind of connects as a human being, and and it's really just the script that undermines it.
Fair enough. I'm looking at Alec Nichols' other credits. Apparently, he was in Tarzan in Nairobi. So he's
I'm sure that holds up well.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But he even did, early TV like Climax, a great action show from the 50s, and Schlitz Playhouse, and he did a Hitchcock Presents. Certainly he did a Twilight Zone, Young Man's Fancy, which I don't remember by its title.
That's familiar, but I can't remember which one it is, though. Yeah.
But Dr. Kildare, Dick Powell Theater, and up until 1976, his last credit, Women in the Rain, a film. But he was also on McCloud. So there you go.
So I don't have a lot more for this episode, except that when they were the spacesuits also came from Men in Space.
Men in Space, sure.
They used them in the previous episodes, but when you show their feet, I'm pretty sure they're wearing Birkenstocks. Have you noticed that?
Hilarious.
Those are pretty bad.
I mean, those are the hippiest fucking spacesuits,
Imagine like strapping those going before you go out to the moon. You got to make sure both are strapped, and maybe you look at the guy next to you, guy like, oh, your bottom one, you haven't strapped it over before we go out on our moon. Yeah, before we go, gotta get your moon sandals.
Yeah, it's I guess, to be fair, it's allegedly 1971 or whatever, right? So that's a pretty solid time to be wearing Birkenstocks. I think they probably just got out of a hot tub in Northern California and got into the spacesuit.
Hey, man, don't forget your Earth shoes when you go to the moon.
All right, well, that's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah, no, I love a lot of the visuals, but the story certainly failed itself.
It did, but I mean, for all my complaining, I think it's kind of a worth watching episode. Certainly,
100%.
The crazy thing, my life would be less if I hadn't seen that design for the aliens.
Absolutely,
for the Grippians. But
I love how the romantic scene is playing out on the left.
Yes,
while we got the close up of the pulsing hairy eyeballs. So that's fantastic.
The juxtaposition.
Yes,
I did, but I mean, unlike some other ones that I just found tedious, at least this one made me a little bit angry. So that's some value.
I hear you, man.
My last thought is this, and oftentimes I we all come from the world of comics, and sometimes that influences my thoughts. And when I look at that Grippian special effects, it's like this is the glimpse of what we would get if there was a Green Lantern show in the '60s. Like this is like that's something he would like Hal Jordan would come across. Right. And I'm like, oh, if there was only like a Green Lantern show that was done. You know, but like this style, I don't know if it would work in black and white. Maybe
there might be a fundamental problem with that. You know, but although I will say that I not remembering this episode at all, I've done 2 of these Green Lantern Earth One graphic novels, and in the second one we have a race of just aliens that are just circles that have little things inside them, and so maybe I subconsciously I internalized this and brought it, because I know I've seen this episode before. And
I'll cross section both 60s and your modern takes on Green Lantern with the Wally Wood sci-fi aesthetic that I think the space and really the astronauts and moon scenes kind of represent.
Although which direction that goes is kind of unclear. I mean, I guess that although that stuff for the Spirit probably was very influential just on people beyond comics because it was a newspaper supplement. So
sure,
Spirit in Space.
Absolutely.
I know. I'm telling the audience. I'm hoping there are other people listening in. But I mean, I think that now that you brought that up, I just want to go look at those comics again.
Absolutely, man. No, I've got my collection of Woody sci-fi, so I hear you. Let's see, what is the next episode?
Oh, the next one of the most iconic images from the show. The mutant.
What is it?
The mutant with the
the mutant, with the
big eyes.
Yeah, the Keeper of the Purple Twilight or whatever. Or
no, it's the mutant. It's called the mutant.
Oh, it's called with Warren Oates, right?
Yeah, with Warren Oates.
Yeah, big old Marty Feldman eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Sadly, Marty Feldman eyes, indeed. And
it's not sad at this point because Marty Feldman wasn't dead yet.
That's true too. This is before his sketch show that I actually got to talk to John Cleese about at last the 1948 show.
Yes,
right. So when they worked together, and that was my thrill to be able to ask Mr. Cleese. And it's so funny, actually. You mentioned Marty Feldman. I on the Decades channel just happened to see a Dick Cavett episode, half-hour Dick Cavett from either the 70s or early 80s. I want to say one of the 70s because I can't remember which Feldman movie they talk about, and it's not a great one. It isn't like Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother or Young Frankenstein, although they come up in conversation. Yeah. But honestly, it's I know that
remake of Beau Geste or whatever.
Exactly, I think it was probably that one. But I know Feldman's widow is the keeper of all of his papers and stuff, and I guess there is a Feldman website out there that has a lot of cool Feldman stuff. So we mention him, and we might mention him more next week.
Yes, we will. We will use the vague similarity to the gigantic eyeballs of Warren Oates and the mutant as an excuse to talk about Marty Feldman's
unfortunate situation with his eyes. Yeah. Absolutely. So fascinating character. One of my favorite comedians, and really a brilliant.
Oh, he was great.
Writer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But has nothing to do with the mutants. But anyway. We'll talk about the mutant next week. That's awesome.
We'll do some research. Maybe Marty Feldman does have something to do with the mutant. We don't know yet.
He was going to sue them over likeness rights, and he was like, "Oh my God, you guys!"
That's how he made his first million. Yeah,
maybe that's why Kubrick had with Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange and had his eyes like that. Maybe that was due to
there are so many connections to this episode none of us have watched yet and don't know anything about.
I remember seeing it, but I guarantee you, at least 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was a little while ago. I've watched all these, but yeah. Look forward to talking about that next week.
Indeed, and thank you very much for joining us, Ian. And as always, we appreciate it. And everybody, thank you very much for watching. Great comments as always. Join us next week for another fine edition. And I gotta find the videos. There they are. To the Outer Limits. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.